What do you consider the most important benefits, risks and governance challenges of clinical research that involves germline genome editing?
Hello, my name is Adam Balen. I'm Professor of Reproductive Medicine in Leeds. I'm currently Chair of the British Fertility Society. So the real question we're being asked is the benefits, risks and governance challenges for germline genome editing. This technology is advancing extremely quickly, and so we need to take stock of things to ensure that it is properly regulated and that we have appropriately published preclinical studies before we bring this technology into clinical practice. I think that here in the UK we have very tight and at the same time permissive regulation provided by the Human Fertilisation and Embryology Authority, the HFEA, which of course is governed by an Act of Parliament. And the HFEA works very closely with organisations such as my own, the British Fertility Society, and the other professional bodies to ensure that treatments are brought appropriately into clinical practice. But this of course primarily has to be in the context of what society considers to be acceptable. There are some very important views expressed by the various patient support groups for the individuals who may be affected by some of the conditions that this therapy is designed potentially to treat or even cure. At the moment, we're able to create embryos and select embryos based on certain characteristics in order to prevent the birth of children who may be born with severe, debilitating or life-threatening conditions such as muscular dystrophy or cystic fibrosis. So that's all about selection. Here we're talking about correcting or altering the genome that not only will affect the children born as a result, born to the parents who undergo the therapy in their sperm, eggs or even embryos, but also will then be carried out through further generations ad infinitum. And at the moment we just simply don't know enough about the additional effects and some of the distant effects of this therapy, these therapies, and therefore at the moment I think it's essential that we are cautious, that we move slowly, but at the same time we have to recognize that there are scientists out there around the world who may be moving faster than we would like, and that brings the danger of people then going overseas for treatment that isn't regulated in the UK. So if we accept that these sorts of therapies are going to come into clinical practice, we need to ensure that our regulation occurs in a timely manner so that we facilitate safe treatment if it is found to be safe, and only if it is found to be safe, in order to ensure that we have tight, permissive regulation enabling those parents who may want to go through these therapies for their future children have the ability to have safe treatment in the UK rather than feeling the need to go overseas and be treated potentially by rogue clinicians, rogue scientists in rogue clinics where we won't necessarily have insight into the failures, the mistakes, the problems that may occur, because it is vital that all children born as a result of this therapy are followed up carefully so that we ensure that it is safe for future generations, and I think that is our main concern at the moment.
What problems do you expect to emerge from global differences in regulatory rules and regulatory cultures in this technology field?
Coming on to the next question, which relates to the problems that may emerge from global differences in regulatory rules and cultures, well, there are huge potential problems. We already see in the world of IVF big differences in regulation. Many countries, in fact most countries around the world, don't have much in the way of regulation, and there are additional influences from the various religious and cultural perspectives around the world which differ quite a lot. And therefore, wherever possible, I think it would be helpful to have international consensus and international guidelines, even though they may not be enforceable by law. I think that the responsible body of scientific and medical opinion should be collected in order to ensure that internationally we have guidelines for a way forwards that's globally acceptable to society in its broadest sense. I appreciate that's a big ask and very difficult to achieve, but I think what worries many of us is how this technology could be abused and misused and taken further than the desire to prevent debilitating diseases, but more towards the slippery slope of enhancing the human race in ways that are akin to the eugenic programs we're all too aware of from the last century. That is not a route that we want to go down. And therefore, I think this technology needs to be very carefully considered, and that we need to have not only international consensus, but the ability to enforce sanctions against those who may misuse the technology.